posted, the learnings that we have shared, and all the talents that you have given in all the ways that you can. We look forward that we will go on with this webinar despite this is the concluding day. So we expect more between these two universities. Again, our heartfelt thanks, and may we join our hands in the future. Good day, everyone.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And of course, to speak in behalf of the Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, Indonesia, we are lucky to have with us this morning Dr. Alimatus Sara, MSIMM, Director of UMBY.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable President of Capi State University, Mrs. Edita G. Alpon, PhD, the Honorable Vice President of Capi State Universities, Deans and Lecturers, the distinguished speaker from both universities, Dr. Hermayawati, from Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, and Dr. Mark F. Villamor from Capi State University. Beloved participants, good morning, selamat pagi, magandang umaga. First of all, let us thank Allah, the Almighty, for blessing and guiding us into the right path, and for creating all means and opportunities together here to attend this very meaningful occasion. On behalf of Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the fifth, which is the last of Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, Capi State University webinar series, with the theme Sailing Through Global Teaching Approach during COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. We apologize that today our Rector of Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, Dr. Alimatus Sara, Master of Science, Master of Management, couldn't attend for this webinar, but she sends warm regards and congratulates to all organizing committee for the hard work to make the series of webinar happen. She hopes also that there will be a continued collaboration after this between Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta and Capi State University, besides joint research that we are also still holding now. We know that until now, the COVID-19 pandemic has been for more than a year. And we remember that at the beginning of the pandemic, Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta and Capi State University were ready to carry out of lecturer exchange that was cancelled. But currently, I would like to say thank you because we saw that the pandemic has not stopped our enthusiasm to develop this cooperation, especially in the field of learning and research. Ladies and gentlemen, education is one way to accelerate the progress of a nation. A pandemic must not dampen our enthusiasms for developing education so that there is no lost generation and decline of a nation's civilization. In this VUCA, that stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situation, based on the leadership theories of Warren Bennis and Bart Nenus, people are looking for ways to increase the quality of education. Various observation, exploratory, and experimental study have been done by experts coming from different fields of study. In addition, virtual conference and scientific discussion with focus on finding out solutions for these difficult times are becoming a new way of collaboration today, that educators are working together to investigate a new theory and strategy to face so-called new normal situation. These attempts are, of course, intended to create better learning environment, more study-friendly materials delivery system, and enhance quality of distance learning education that are becoming important point these times. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to achieve the goal of better education, especially in VUCA situation, international collaboration between universities is needed. Moreover, at this time, efforts are needed to implement the Asian Economic Community, AEC, which require a broader and easier policy framework from the flow of gold, from the flow of goods, service, investment, capital, and worker that are inter-Asian member countries. The presence of EAC is expected to encourage more aggressive cooperation between Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta and Capi State University to achieve joint progress in the field of learning, research, and community service. Ladies and gentlemen, with this webinar activity, we hope that it can become an active effort for universities to support the implementation of the Asian Economic Community through cooperation between universities. In addition to increasing awareness about teacher development and education, hopefully this activity can provide constructive input for police marker both in Philippines and Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, allow me on behalf of Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta to close my address. I wish you all an educational and fruitful webinar. God bless us. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Bayu, the Vice Rector of Academics of UMBY, speaking in behalf of Dr. Alimatu Sara, MSIMM, the Rector of UMBY. To further proceed with the program, and for us to be guided with the webinar series that we are conducting this morning, allow me to read to you the policies and house rules for conducting this webinar series. The registration link can only be accessed through the official link that you can see on screen. This session will have two presenters and there will be one moderator that will lead the event. During the webinar, participants may turn off their webcam. However, the host will deactivate the participant's microphone until we come to the question and answer portion. Each presenter will have 30 minutes to deliver his or her thoughts. The question and answer section will begin after all of the presenters finish their talk. In this event, the presenters and the moderator will use English as their medium language. Participants are supposed to join the webinar series from the beginning until the end of the section. E-certificate is provided after the exit ticket evaluation forms are accomplished. Make sure to double check your email entries. 9. All participants may give questions to the presenter through the chat box, though we will also invite you to give questions during or using the microphone. The presentation slides from the presenter will be shared before the event ends. And the last, follow the PBI, UMBY, and CAPSU public information FB page and for the next internationalization. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, you will now see on screen the run-through of this morning's activity. Our first speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a certified entrepreneurship education professional in Asia by the Entrepreneurship Educators Association of the Philippines. He was a judge, first runner-up of the 2011 search for most outstanding entrepreneurship educator in the Philippines by Entrepreneurship Educators Association of the Philippines Incorporated. He is currently designated as the Director of the Intellectual Property Management Office, or the IPMO, of the Capi State University. He was designated as Chief of the Knowledge and Technology Transfer Division of the Intellectual Property Management Office from August 2018 to November 2019. He was also designated as Chairman for Planning and Development and MIS of the Capi State University Rosity Campus from June 2012 to November 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk on the teaching and learning in VUCA, the volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world. It is our pride from Capi State University, Mr. Mark Glenn Villamor.
Thank you very much, Professor Villaruel. Please allow me to share my screen. Welcome to the VUCA world. So what does VUCA stand for? So I'm sure some of you have already heard of the acronym VUCA. So VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So it is not actually a new acronym. So the American War College was one of the first organizations to use the acronym VUCA in 1991. So it was when the US Army was faced with extreme conditions in their war zones in Afghanistan and Iraq. But it was only after 9/11 attacks when VUCA was seized upon or embraced by big business. So what do we mean by a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situation? So when we say volatile situation, it is with unstable changes and unexpected challenges that could last for an unknown duration. When we say the situation is uncertain, it is when there is a lack of predictability, even though the basic cause and effect might be known. And for a complex situation, it is when a situation is faced with several interlinked variables and factors, with some or all of the information available or predicted, but the sheer scale of it makes it challenging to process. And for an ambiguous situation, it is when a situation when the cause and effect is not so clear. So there is no prior experience to fall back on, and the management faces an unclear reality or future filled with countless unknowns. So for 1 year now, however, we have gotten a real experience of what this means and how it can impact all of us. Indeed, COVID-19 is VUCA in action, as its rapid spread across the world and the drastic measures being taken to contain it have highlighted several countries' stuttering systems and shown the need for more creative thinking across all sectors. Now, if we check the statistics, two of the most severely affected countries in Southeast Asia in particular are Indonesia and the Philippines. Sadly and unfortunately, COVID 19 may not be the last pandemic that we will face in our lifetime. So, how do we navigate the VUCA world? So, the key to navigating in a VUCA world is to break VUCA down into its component parts. So, in his book, Leaders Make the Future, noted futurist and author Bob Johansen proposed a framework that we can all use to respond to VUCA threats. And it is called the VUCA Prime. So, the VUCA Prime as a behavioral leadership model to counteract each of the four elements of VUCA with a specific positive response. So let us start with countering volatility with vision. So when conditions are changing unpredictably, leaders should keep focused on the desired target state and vision. The vision should be a compelling picture of the future that aligns stakeholders around the purpose of the transformation, the scale of the ambition, and the nature of the benefits. It is also timely to ask if there is a need to revisit our respective institutions' strategic plan. So, is there a need for us to revise our vision, mission, goals, and objectives? Next is meeting uncertainty with understanding. So when uncertainty is encountered, all we have to do is to explore and experiment in order to increase understanding of the external PESEL factors. So what do we mean by PESEL? So that's political, economic, social, technological, legislative, and environmental factors. So there is also a need for us to adopt multiple perspectives from across the organization to achieve mutual understanding to move forward despite our fear. So, as faculty members, there is also a need for us to reach out to our students, check how they are doing from time to time, and probably, I guess, now is the perfect time to stretch our patience to the limit. Thirdly, we have to react to complexity with clarity. So, when faced with the unknown and unpredictable conditions, learn to simplify as clarity informs decisions and decisions enable execution. So, this is explaining the why actually and inspire people into action with the shared goals. So, very simply, communication is key when we react to complexity with clarity. And lastly, it's fighting ambiguity with agility. So when the future contains multiple alternatives, let us all be ready to adapt the approach to match the desired outcome. So organizational agility is simply achieved by adopting the practice of collaborating. That's why we have this internationalization activity, delivering, reflecting, and improving against agreed metrics. So, what do we do now moving forward? So, I would like to share that if there is an overarching theme in education in a VUCA world, that's technology or digitalization in particular. So, I firmly believe that it is high time for the education sector to future proof educational institutions from future pandemics and to bridge the widening digital divide between the education sector and the industry. So it is not enough to teach with technology, but to teach through technology, considering that our students are more capable than us, their teachers, as they are actually considered to be digital natives. So today's students need teachers and administrators to re-envision the role of technology in the classroom. So even in the face of greater digitalization and automation, the most valuable asset that we can now have is what make us human. So one of these traits is what the World Economic Forum calls learnability. So the will and the capacity to learn. Dr. W. Warner Burke at Columbia University calls this learning agility. So allow me to discuss further about learning agility. So it is a mental trait whereby a person is willing and able to learn from experiences and then apply this knowledge in situations that are often unforeseen and quite challenging. Now, in the corporate world, it is measured through a specialized assessment and a criterion based interview. Now, speaking of a specialized assessment, there are professional psychometric assessment tests that companies use to evaluate their employees. So, allow me to share with you the most common assessment being employed, and that is the METEL Learning Agility Assessment. So, METEL is an online platform that conducts tests to measure candidates' abilities in various domains. So Metal is trusted by more than 4,000 clients worldwide. So the Metal Learning Agility Assessment tries to measure two major components of learning agility in an applicant, which are one, the ability to learn. So the test checks if the respondent can quickly identify patterns, logical rules, and trends in new data. Second, it measures orientation to learn. So it determines essential behavioral competencies which will predispose the respondent to learn new things faster than others. So candidates with or high on learning agility will be able to easily add new skills and knowledge. So high learning agility also enables an employee to make a smooth transition between roles as per the role or company requirement. Now, if you've noticed on the slide, key profiles the tests were used for are entry level, middle, and senior management roles across industries. So it means that the Meta Learning Agility Assessment is not only used for entry level positions, but also used for promotion purposes. So according to Korn Ferry, a management consulting company, learning agility is a top predictor of high potential and long-term success. And companies with the greatest rates of high learning agile executives produce 25% higher profit margins than their peers. So if you want to test your learning agility, there is actually a free test available at tcyonline.com. But unfortunately, we cannot do this now as it requires at least 30 minutes to complete a single test. So we do not have the luxury of time to do it now, but nobody is stopping you later, right? So if you're quite curious and interested if you have the learning agility skills and abilities to be able to do whatever you want, or if you are planning other careers in the future, then you may do so later. Fortunately, I was able to collect some sample statements from IBM's learning agility assessment. So there, you can find them on the slide. So for example, uh, Q1, sometimes I miss seeing or communicating the hard truth of situations. So all you have to do is to describe yourself as honestly as you can by choosing an option out of seven. So that's from strongly disagree, slightly disagree, neither disagree or agree, slightly agree, agree to strongly agree. Okay? So now let's go to the different facets of learning agility. Again, it was Dr. W. Warner Burke, a Thorndike professor of psychology at Teachers College at Columbia University, who was able to measure learning agility. So based on 4 years of initial research, he was able to determine that people who are more learning agile demonstrate that agility in nine different ways. So one is speed, second is inquiring or experimenting, third, performance risk taking or just plainly risk taking, fourth, growth oriented or feedback seeking, fifth, reflecting, sixth, information gathering or research, seventh, collaborating, Eighth, interpersonal risk taking or interdependence. And then lastly, flexibility. Okay, I cannot shift to the next slide. Wait. Okay. So how do we define each facet of the learning agility? For for speed, that's rapidly grasping new ideas. For inquiring, that's testing out new ideas. For risk taking, that's taking on challenges. Growth oriented, that is seeking feedback. Fifth, for reflective, that's analyzing and evaluating our own effectiveness. For research, that's increasing our knowledge using various methods to remain current in one's area of expertise. For collaborating, that's leveraging our own and others' skills. For interdependence, that's asking for and receiving help. And then for flexibility, that's the openness to try new things. So let us um, check some of the models being implemented here in Southeast Asia because it's closer to home. So first and foremost, let us check the strategy being implemented by Singapore Institute of Technology. So SIT has a structured integrated work study program. So it is an 8 to 12-month work attachment that provides a platform for the students to deep dive into the industry they have chosen. So that's actually a deliberate effort to blur the lines between the classroom and industry, which encourages a constant exchange of ideas between students and their work supervisors. Now, even with the pandemic, SIT's integrated work study program is ongoing. And take note, this is actually a paid employment with companies relevant to their programs. Another model that I would like to discuss is that of Miss Alison Yang, who is a faculty at KIS International School in Bangkok, Thailand. So you're seeing there the diagram, which was inspired by the blog post by Dr. Lavina. The title of the blog post is The Agile Learner in a VUCA World. Dr. Lavina is also an author and a cognitive coach, wherein the learning agility was grouped into five major facets. So that's communication, thinking, research, social, and self management. But if you check the 11 skill indicators, they are very much closely related also to the nine facets of learning agility that was identified by Dr. Burke. So this is the approaches to learning alignment. So for her, we need to rethink education and build students' capacity for the VUCA world. So to do this, to help students to develop these skills and stretch their learnability, one way to do this is to align the objective or the learning target, skill indicator, and strategy. So the process of practicing and developing skills must be deliberate in order for students to reach mastery. Now, if you want to learn more about Miss Yang's model, you may check her blog, especially her ATL smorgasbord. So there, you will find a plethora of learning targets for each skill indicator, including the teachers or students' activities that you may employ. And this is the last model that I would like to share with you. Aha. I cannot. Okay. So this is an example. Sorry. This is an example of the ATL smorgasbord that I talked about earlier. So if we focus on one skill indicator, that's the creative thinking skill. So under that are the several targets that you may employ and also the activities that you may use. So for example, design or use brainstorming and visual diagrams to generate new ideas and inquiries. So you may use flow charting, mind mapping, reverse brainstorming, so on and so forth. So later on, you may check the blog post so that you may be able to check the ATL smorgasbord. So this is another model that I would like to share. We actually started this in 2016 when we were having a series of seminars and trainings for outcomes-based education. That's actually what we call under the OBE the constructive alignment. So you have to align the intended learning outcomes or the ILOs with the teachers' activities or ATs and the learners' activities or LAs or our students' activities, and then the assessment tasks. So, for example, I also made some examples here because I am an entrepreneurship educator. So most of the courses or subjects that are given to me are related to the BS entrepreneurship program. So one example here is for the ILO to create novel solutions to an authentic problem because they have to develop a business idea. So for a teacher's activity, a gapped lecture for the student's activity, that's a case study, and for the assessment task, a portfolio because students will be required to submit at least one business idea per week for a series of 7 weeks. Next, under opportunity seeking, of course, the final output there is opportunity analysis plan. So to evaluate ideas using the screening criteria. So for the teacher's activity, that's works along activity, and for the student's activity, that's information inquiry, searching the web as well. And for the assessment task, that's opportunity plan. So since especially for Capiz State University, we'll be starting our second semester very soon. So I guess we have to think of ways how we can inject the several facets of learning agility into our course syllabi so that we would be able to develop our students learning agility to be able to prepare them to the world that's awaiting them after graduation. So these are the references which I have used for this lecture. And I am really dying to go back to Indonesia because I was there 5 years ago. So I was able to visit Binus University in Jakarta, Indonesia, and Universitas Padjadjaran in Bandung. And that's me having a picture at Monas. So that's one of the monumental landmarks in Indonesia. So thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Professor Mark, for the learnings that you have shared with volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world. I hope that this would help educators that are online right now. And of course, to proceed with the program, allow me to introduce to you the second speaker of this webinar series. She earned her doctoral program from Yogyakarta State University and a senior lecturer of English Education Study Program of Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta. She has earned many research grants from UMBY and from government and currently working on her study on CLIL. Ladies and gentlemen, our second speaker, Dr. Hermayawati, MPD, to speak on the Cultivating Learners MKD, or the Mental and Knowledge Dimensions through Virtual JHP, or the Japanese Human Puppets Stories.
Ako ring iduho ang hit ido.
Sir Daniel, can you please check the audio of the presentation? Actually, the other end of this webinar series is currently having a technical problem. And with that, allow me to acknowledge the organizers of this webinar series as of this moment before we proceed with the second speaker. The Office of the External Affairs and Linkages of the Capiz State University, headed by Dr. Mary Ann Marcelino, the English Education Study Program of the University of Marcobuana, Yogyakarta, headed by Ms. Eliza Hartati, SPD, MPD, and Mr. Daniel Ari with Hiyatama, the Director of International Affairs of UMBY. We'd like to thank the presenters of the 5-week webinar series. We have Mr. Heribertus Binawan, SPD, MPD, Dr. Luis Placido Lachica, Ms. Valentina Daya Arum Sari, SPDM Masters in Humanities. We have Dr. Christine Cuenca, Ms. Lulul Macnun, SPD, MPD, Dr. Hazel Joaquin, Mr. Agustino Sari, SPD, MA, Dr. Judel V. Protasio. We have also Dr. Hermayawati, MPD, and of course, Professor Mark Glenn Villamor. And of course, the moderators for the past 5 webinar series, we have Dr. Joey Balatayo, Mr. Daniel Ari with Tama, SPD, Masters in Humanity, yours truly, and Mr. Dangin, SPD, Masters in Humanities. Of course, we would like also to extend our thanks to the technical teams of both universities, the very dynamic vice presidents of Capiz State University rather, Dr. Efren Linan, Dr. Wenny Ligario, Dr. Susan Dangan, Mr. Agustino Sari, SPDMA, the Vice Dean of the Teacher Training and Education Faculty of UMBY, and of course to the ever supportive heads of both universities, Dr. Edita C. Alfon and Dr. Alimatus Sara, and to everyone who in one way or another made this activity a success. I guess we're now ready. Once again, you, the second speaker, to share her ideas on cultivating learners MKD, or the mental and knowledge dimensions through virtual JHP, or the Japanese human puppet stories. It is our pride, ladies and gentlemen, to have with us this morning Dr. Hermayawati, MPD.
Unmute ko na gani. Oh, batian ko to. Dapat
Sorry for the inconvenience. Of course, you can see there the screen, and we don't have any audio at all. They are fixing currently the technical problem that they're facing. So to those who are hooked in the webinar series, please be reminded that you have to turn off your microphone and of course your video if you're on standby. And again, sorry for the inconvenience. We are currently experiencing a technical problem. The presentation can be seen, but we don't have any audio. They're fixing the technical problem there.
what about the lady, the Japanese human puppet slide? Okay. Yeah. I would like to give you an illustration. Okay, you can see here human puppets gallery and stage. You know that on the left side is what is it? The gallery, yeah, consists of pictures which shows the gallery, and then on the right side is the stage where the artists are playing their roles. Okay, yeah, and then the next one, you know that there are men and women here. They are couple of husband and wife. Okay, the man is called Raden Arjuna and the lady is called Sri Kandi. You know that the ones, yeah, because Arjuna, since he
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, our second speaker to discuss cultivating learners, MKD mental and knowledge dimensions through virtual JHP or the Japanese human puppet stories. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Dr. Hermayawati, MPD.
okay. Thank you very much for the chance given to me to share my topic today. But I would like to introduce myself first, yeah, before going on to presenting the material. Okay, as you know that I'm Hermayawati from English Department of Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta. And before presenting my topic, let me greet the audience first. Yeah, firstly, the Honorable Rector of Campus University, the Honorable Deans of Campus University, the head of departments of Campus University, and also head of English Department of Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta. I don't also forget to say hello, yeah, to all of the distinguished speakers, where I am the last one here. Okay, last one, but I hope that will be not at least. Okay, and also do not forget to say hello to participants. Hello, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the chance. What is it? The chance of you to be here to join this webinar. Okay, I hope that you will stay here until the end of this program. Okay, thank you very much for the moderator, Dr. Andrew, for giving me the chance to share my topic. Okay, but before that, Let me introduce the topic of today's what is it, material. Okay, as you know that the topic is cultivating learners. MKD stands for mental and knowledge dimensions through virtual. JHP stands for Japanese human puppet stories. But since the time is, is very limited, I do not uh, present more than one story only. Yeah, even that it will be very snippet. Yeah, right. Okay, and I'm very sure that not all of the people have been familiar with what is Japanese human puppets like, especially for those who comes from Philippines. Yeah, even Indonesian people, most of them are not well familiar with this kind of cultural heritage. Right? That's why I would like to give you an illustration, yeah, a little illustration on what is that like. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you can see here two pictures. Yeah, on the left side is a kind of gallery where you can find it in front of the theater of uh, human puppets. Okay, and then on the right side, you know that it is a kind of stage where the artists are playing their roles. Okay, and then, yeah, I'm also very sure that most of you are not familiar with these kinds of pictures or photos, right? You know that they are a man and a lady. Yeah, the man is called Arjuna and the lady is called Sri Kandi. Okay. In human puppet story, they are well known as a very amazing spouse. Yeah, a couple of husband and wife, since both of them have a kind of very what is it, a divine, strong, powerful, both physically and spiritually. Okay, and they belongs to knights, yeah, warrior, of Pandawa family. All right, it is a little bit about the image, yeah, for you to have an illustration on what is it the art is like. Okay, and then I would like to invite you to 10 minutes watching about one of the stories. Okay, after that I would like to give you some questions concerning the content of the story. Are you ready? Okay, let me show you uh, the story, okay? 10 minutes only. Okay, thank you very much for watching the video, but unfortunately that well as by remembering that the time is very limited, I cannot show you the puppet show in the full story, all right? Yes. Okay, and then I would like to give you some questions. What do you think about the story of the puppet? Is it interesting or not? Okay, is it interesting or not? And then, uh, okay, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next, what is it, slide? Okay, I would like to give you some questions. Is it possible for you to answer it? If you want to answer, you may write your, what is it, your answers on the available chat box, okay? Are you interested in the performance of such human puppet show? Yeah, if yes, why? And if not, why? Okay. Yeah, if you are not, what is it, interested, it is because of you are not yet familiar with the story. Okay, maybe, yeah, even the Indonesian people are not all of them familiar with such story. That is human. And then as the spectator, what can you get from the story snippet? Yeah, of course, many, right? There are, what is it? There are values, yeah. There are hidden message, yeah, concerning the moral values, yeah, that can be taken, that can be studied or can be learned from the content of the story. Okay. And then as a language teacher, can you employ such story to teach? Yeah, what is the answer? Yes, of course, right? If yes, what kinds of linguistic competence you may develop for your learners? Okay, what are they? Linguistic competence. I think that all of the linguistic competence we can develop, yeah, by employing such human puppet story. And then how is the procedure to teach? It depends, maybe the situation and condition of your class, yeah, while you are presenting the materials. Yeah. It depends also on the learning objectives, okay? And then the last, what is the questions to discuss is, suppose you were a material developer, how to adjust such discourse content to teach the different learners level of the study. Yeah, for instance, yeah, for beginning, what should be the material to present? Okay, for elementary, for intermediate, or for advanced. Yeah. What do you think about such kind of story? Is it possible to present or to teach any level of study? Yes, of course, right. The what is it? The problem is how do we design, yeah, the content of the uh, linguistic terms, yeah, the skills and also the language components. Yeah, you know that uh, those level of study, of course, have different language level to teach. Okay, go to the next. Okay, let's talk. Sorry. Let's talk about. Let's talk about the mental and knowledge dimensions now. What are they? What, why, and how? Okay. As you know that mental is thinking aspects through a mental model, while a mental model is an explanation of how something works. For instance, to how to train the brain to think in new ways. Yeah, it is according to Clear 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know that in English language teaching, the brain to think is innate naturally through a kind of what is proposed by Chomskyan theory, yeah, LAD, or language acquisition device, or universal grammar. Okay, and it is in line with Krathwohl Anderson's theory of human thinking level taxonomy, which are developed from Benjamin S. Bloom's theory, proposed around 1950s. Okay, and what is about knowledge dimensions? You have know about it, right? Yeah, I think that all of the teachers have known about it, have been familiar about it. Okay, there's human level of acquiring. FCPM stands for factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive capacities. Yeah, it is Krathwohl and Anderson theory. I think that all of you have known about it. And then why MKD? Yeah. You know that MKD are the human thinking device to acquire knowledge, while you know that learners are organisms who needs knowledge to survive. Do you agree this? Of course, right? And knowledge-based organisms are entities which organize the body further by connecting the parts, yeah, the what is it? The parts that are interdependent and share a common life. While effective knowledge management can and should produce extraordinary results. It is according to Yang 2010. And then how to employ MKD or mental and knowledge dimensions. To my mind, to employ MKD is by implementing it systematically in unity with the discourse content being learned. Yeah. And then how to check or assess the learner's competence? It is by implementing it through the language practice task, yeah, that measure learners' level of thinking competence. Right? That is about what, why, and how concerning the and KD, the mental and knowledge dimensions. Okay, do you know this? Of course, yeah, it is very familiar and have been known by all of the teachers around the world, I think, yeah, because it is very popular, yeah, since 1950s, yeah, and then what is it, updated by Anderson and Kraftwerk and also their colleagues, yeah, starts at 2001, 2002. You know that this is the table of taxonomy, which consists or which involves two elements. Yeah, you know that the first element is the knowledge dimensions themselves, where it consists of four aspects. Yeah, they are factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. While the other element is the cognitive process dimension. It is very popular, and I'm very sure that even the students have known about it. Right? It consists of 6 taxonomic aspects, right? From the very beginning, yeah, or the lowest one starts from remember. That is the lowest level of thinking, of human thinking, yeah, and then understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and the highest level of human thinking one is create. So the 6 level of thinking aspects together with the knowledge dimensions should be ideally to cultivate for the students during our teaching and learning process. Okay, right. I think that all of you are agree about it. And then what about the Javanese human puppets? What is called also wayang orang, yeah, in Indonesia. Yeah. Human puppets or wayang orang is somewhat like an opera. Do you agree? Okay. Played by a group of professional artists in which performance are accompanied by gamelan orchestra, the dalang or puppeteer, and the pesindan. Yeah, pesindan is Javanese special Javanese singer. Okay. And it is one of the Javanese cultural heritages which has been recognized by UNESCO, yeah, since 2003. And why Javanese human puppets? Yeah, to my mind, yeah, because it is worried to be fade away extinct, so that it needs preservation. Yeah, truly needs preservation. And then it also full of moral value messages in its story content, while it is also able to explore what are they? Learners MKD, yeah. Learners learning characteristics, somewhat like visual, auditorial, and kinesthetic aspect. You know that the 3 learning characteristics must be, yeah, must be implemented embeddedly, yeah, while we are teaching. And then how to employ? Yeah, I think that to employ, yeah, as it can be employed as the learning media by developing the discourse content adjusted, yeah, with the learner's level of study. And it was developed, it is developed, for instance, through the procedure of what I call it VUCA. Yeah, VUCA is the
Sorry.
procedure, yeah, from.
Sorry to interrupt you, mom. You have only 5 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Andrew. Okay, watching, understanding, paraphrasing, presenting, and assessing procedure. Okay, that is about Javanese human puppets. What why, and how. Right? Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much for watching and also listening. What is it? My speech, and it is the references I refer in this case. Okay, thank you for joining this event. Okay, I would like to give back the time to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hermayawati, for that very interesting topic that you have shared with us. I hope that this will be adopted also in the Philippines as what you have been adopting there in Indonesia. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, you can now key in your questions, or you can at least raise your questions by giving us a signal so that we can accommodate your questions, and this will be answered by the two speakers. Anyway, would like to remind everyone that we don't have the luxury of time as of this moment, and we will be accommodating, I guess, 3 to 4 questions per speaker. Anyone who would like to raise the first question from your end? Of course, Professor Mark and Dr. Hermayawati are ready, rather, in answering the questions. You can key in your questions, ladies and gentlemen. We are very much interested to answer your questions. Of course, the speakers are interested of answering the questions, not me. Anyone who would like to shoot the first question? Uh, okay, the first question is from Maria Sheila Simon. Professor Mark, just want to know the term PESTLE, the PESTLE, rather.
That's actually the PESEL factors. So that's political, economic, social, technological, legislative, and environmental. So we are actually affected by the several factors coming from these several ends, Dr. Simon. So it is very important and relevant for us to understand what are these factors that affect us so that we would be able to act accordingly. Like, for example, if we're talking about the technological factor, so I think it is high time for us to use a learning management system to be able to deal with our online classes, because right now we are using different modes. There are some faculty who are using Edmodo, there are some faculty who are using the Google Classroom, but if we can just have one system to use all over the university system, then that would be great.
Thank you very much, Sir Mark. And we have another question for Sir Mark. Sir Mark, what are the VUCA factors that impacts your profession?
I guess as faculty members, we are all aware of the VUCA factors that affecting us right now, especially that the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the educational landscape forever. So we can no longer conduct face-to-face classes, so we are now holding online classes, and not all of us are actually quite knowledgeable of the several ways or modes, modalities, and methodologies. So probably it's time that we should now start learning about them, that we have more time for personal growth and development, or to attend webinars and trainings that would actually improve our knowledge of this uh, digital platform.
Thank you very much, Sir Mark. Another question for Sir Mark. Which key profiles best fit the first major component of mental learning?
Actually, I haven't taken the Meta Learning Agility Assessment. However, based on the question, there are two major components that being measured. So one is learning ability and the other is learning agility. So for the ability, that's what we call actually the smarts. So it's testing your intelligence quotient. So the other one is actually testing your behavioral competencies. So I don't know actually which between the two is more important. It depends on the company that's actually paying Metal to do the assessment test to their applicants.
Thank you, Sir Mark. That question was raised by Dr. Jacqueline Contreras. Uh, are there any questions from UMBY participants for Sir Mark and, of course, Dr. Hermayawati? Okay, we have one question here from Gustil Ayo Puto. Dr. Hermayawati, would you like to explain how to use Javanese human puppets in instruction? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. Okay, how is the way to make use of Javanese human puppets to teach, right? Okay, I think that I just told about it previously, okay? But thank you. I would like to repeat it once more, okay? So you may use the procedure, what is called VUPA, WUPPA, right? Uh, which stands for watching, means that please invite your students to watch the video of one of the video of Japanese human puppet story. Okay, and then uh, give your students the chance to understand the content of the uh, story, right? And then after that, please invite them to paraphrase both in oral or in written way, yeah, to paraphrase the story, I mean. After that, yeah, right? Uh, Watching, understanding, and then paraphrasing and presenting. Yeah. In this case, in presenting the what is it, content material, it can be discussed, yeah, in the class, and then after that, the last, yeah, to be uh, assessed. Yeah, in the assessment, we may involve the students individually or self-assessment, can be what is it, in pairs, can be in groups. Yeah, of course, we gave what is it, scoring rubrics, yeah, to as the basis or as the guide for the students to self-assess their own works. Yeah, for example, in the paraphrased uh, written work. Okay, okay, that's yeah. I hope that this will be answer your questions.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much,
Yeah,
Dr.
Dr.
Hermayawati.
Andrew. Okay.
One question, Doc Hermayawati. Can this human puppet be a very good springboard for social linguistics, like on sexism, on topics on sexism?
Of course, of course, yeah, not only sociolinguistic, but also pragmatics and even semiotic, semiotic, yeah, the study of science. Okay, because what is it? It consists of very beautiful dancing, special dance. Dance is, yeah, any what is it? Any physical actions, activities, yeah. Right. So it can be also to teach semiotic. You know that language, what is it? There are many of language, what is it, kinds of language, right? Somewhat like linguistic and then pragmatics, okay, semantic, and then also semiotic, right? Okay. So it is actually very rich in what is it, in language aspects and also language elements. Okay, right.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Okay.
Hermayawati. I'm very much interested with the human puppet. Anyway, we have another question here from Dr. Carmely Grace Dakin. Dr. Hermayawati, how can JPH stories be made applicable in the virtual teaching of other subjects, example in social sciences?
In social sciences, of course, yes. Okay, of course, yes. So it is very, very flexible. I think it is possible, yeah, to teach. I think any, yeah, any of what is it? Any of human knowledge, right? Okay, and also including the social field, right? How is the
Uh,
way? For example, if we take the hidden messages, yeah, which contain every story, even every story, yeah, what is it? Contains moral values, and you know that moral values can be learned from many other, what is it? Many other knowledge. I think, yeah, that is my mind in my mind only. Okay, if you want to discuss, it's okay, right? Okay, thank you, Dr. Andrew.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hermayawati. Another question here from Professor Villaflor, Edwin James Villaflor. Can hand puppets as a pedagogical tool impact the attitude of students? Well, probably what you meant here, Professor Villamor, is the Javanese human puppet. Uh, Ma'am, can this impact
Yes,
the attitude of the students?
sorry, would you please repeat once more again? I cannot catch your voice. Sorry, it is rather, what is it, a little bit disturbance here.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Can hand puppets as a pedagogical tool in teaching impact the attitude of students? Can this have an impact to students' attitude, the use of hand puppet or human puppet?
Okay, the impacts, right? Okay, let's discuss about it. What can be taken, yeah, especially the impacts of the students by watching such kinds of human puppet stories, right? Yeah, it is only expected. It is expectation by what is it? It's only an effort, right? Effort, yeah, to make use of such kind of story to introduce to our students, yeah, by remembering that every story of Japanese human puppets contain very deep moral values. Okay, right. Yeah, as you know that not all of even the young generations of Indonesian people are not yet familiar with such kinds of our ancestor heritage. Okay, they know better the K-pop rather than their own culture. That is very terrible, right? That is why, yeah, you know that 2 years, currently 2 years, yeah, I have tried hard to research, to conduct research about it, yeah, to get what is the impacts, as you ask, yeah. Uh, uh, what is it? I try hard to really research what are the impacts, yeah, on teaching, what is it, teaching materials using Japanese human puppet stories to the students. And actually, during, was it, since 2014, I have deeply studied about it, and the impacts. Actually, it is very amazing that the students fade away. The students fade away. What is it? Stop. Start. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Start interesting to watch the video. Right. That is the impacts of a moment, a while impacts. A while impacts only. I do not know so far, yeah, but it is once more again only an effort, yeah, for me to what is it to always remind the young generations, even the teachers, even the teachers never realize about it, right? And only one or two teachers who who make use of such Japanese human puppets as their materials to develop the students' language faculty. Got it? This is very terrible. That's why I always do. And as you know, I have presented the results of my studies abroad. Yeah, in what is it, Tekken University at Sultan Qaboos University, even in the Southern Philippines University in Cebu, right? And also in Nepal, Kathmandu, Nepal, and what is it, Nelta seminar, all right? Yeah, of course, by being supported. I mean the fund from the Ministry of Education and Culture, not by myself. Yeah, it is very motivated by the uh, Ministry of Education and Culture. Okay. Yeah, but I think it is not. I mean, for the Philippines, yeah, you can also try hard to dig, yeah, to dig more your own cultural heritage, yeah, to be well known by the Filipinos young generations as the what is it, the learning materials. If you have it, yeah, maybe you have lots of ancient heritages, yeah, which are needed to conserve or to preserve, right? Okay, so I mean, you know that I have proposed and found my own method that is called CLLA, Cultural Language Learning Approach. I have introduced it in many countries, okay, during my research dissemination, supported by the government of Indonesia.
So it's a theory already,
Okay,
ma'am. Is it a theory?
sorry.
Is it a theory that you're proposing? The cultural, the one that you mentioned a while ago. Is it a theory that you've introduced that uh, the
Yes,
cultural?
yes, especially when I was presenting disseminating the research findings at Sultan Qaboos University, Oman, uh, uh, Muscat, Oman. Yeah, it is. Sorry, it was also attended by the secretary of WHO. UNESCO. Yeah, and she sat in front, near of me, near of my stage, yeah, in presenting the CLLA, right? And she was interested very much. She told me about it.
Thank you
Okay,
very
so
much, Dr. Hermayawati.
yeah,
And
so I
according
think,
to and according
sorry.
to
Mm-mm.
Professor Edwin James Villaflor, thank you very much, Dr. Hermayawati. Cultural learning approach is a good avenue to be explored. Of course, it's enriching our culture by using that one. It's a new approach. Probably it would be better if we can also mainstream here in our teaching pedagogy in the Philippines. Some more questions
Okay.
so far? Do we have some more questions from University of Mercobuana, Yogyakarta? One more question? Come again. We have another question here from, it was raised already for Samar. It was raised already. So I guess practically we have answered all your questions, unless you have questions to be raised. One last final question, if you have any questions so far, before we give the floor to the speakers for their concluding remarks. Last call for questions. I guess there's none. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we may hear a concluding message from Professor Villamor, and this will be followed by Dr. Hermayawati. Sir Mark?
In our hands lie the future chances of our students to be successful later in life. So, as faculty members, let us do our best to arm them with the needed abilities and skills for them to survive and thrive in a VUCA world. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sir Mark. Very well said. And of course, from your end, Ma'am Dr. Hermayawati, your concluding statement, please.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rosandru. Yeah. My conclusion maybe. Okay. I hope that especially the teachers of English, yeah, because that is our field, right? For the teachers to realize, yeah, to make use of human puppets stories to teach your students at any level of study, yeah, from the very beginning until advanced level of study. Yeah, that is very important for us because it is very, very worried to be fade away, extinct if we do not, yeah, try hard to conserve it, yeah, through our field. Okay, that is my what is it conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hermayawati. I'm very interested, the same as with some other English teachers here, like Miss Marianne, with the Japanese human puppet. We will be connecting with you in the near
Yes.
future on how to conduct the Japanese human
Yeah,
puppet.
even you, if you are going to, if you are interested to make use of Japanese puppets, I would like to send you lots
Yes,
of
ma'am.
puppets.
Very much interested. Very much welcome if you will be
Okay,
sending the materials. Thank
okay,
you very much.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can exchange. We can exchange our cultures. Yeah.
yes, yeah. We will do that later, ma'am. Thank you very much, Ma'am Hermayawati, Dr.
Okay.
Hermayawati, and PD. And of course, we have come to the last part, though it's sad, but it's the last part of our webinar series. At this point, we will be hearing a series of closing statements from, of course, from our very own, the always approachable Vice President for External Affairs, Dr. Mary Ann Martilino.
Thank you, Professor Rosando Villaruel, for your very generous introduction. Uh, the very able rector of the Mercubuana Yogyakarta University in the person of Dr. Limatul Sara, Dr. Edita Cialfon, the president of Capi State University, other key officials coming from both universities present, participants from both the Philippines and Indonesia, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good noon. First and foremost, I would like to extend my thanks, gratitude, and indebtedness to the five speakers, starting from the first webinar series until the last series, for their insightful presentations. It will be impossible for me to quantify the richness and the knowledge the five speakers were able to impart to the participants. In these closing remarks, I will be focusing on what I consider as the three major takeaways from this five webinar series amidst the pandemics, insights and ideas about the resilience of Capiz State University and the University of Mercobuana, Yogyakarta in facing the COVID-19 pandemic. First takeaway, Capiz State University and the University of Mercobuana, Yogyakarta were able to make sound and meaningful partnership which does not end today or which does not stop after the conduct of this five webinar series. The partnership will continue through other collaborative endeavor. As of today, I would like to update everyone that there are six collaborative research proposals which are about to be conducted, and there are still many collaborative programs and activities which are being conceptualized. The partnership has been an opportunity for the University of Mercobuana Yogyakarta and Capiz State University to share and learn from another's experiences, an important aspect of the collective resilience of the two universities in response to this pandemic. The second takeaway is the realization of the importance of active international and multilateral cooperation in the context of this global crisis. No country will be able to manage this crisis alone. This is a global crisis and a global challenge that requires a global and coordinated response. Global response means that we do not only have to depend on our resources in getting through this pandemic. For tertiary education institutions, we can engage in partnership to other international academic institutions and research institutions, just like what CAPSU and UMBY are doing. Another lesson from this crisis is the realization that academic cooperation and technology are central elements in the response to this pandemic and for the achievement of our academic goals as universities. The third takeaway is the realization that international collaborations and or solidarity could be maintained despite of the crisis. The conduct of webinars and other international activities, programs, and projects could be a viable link in maintaining cooperation and solidarity between academic institutions. Information and communications technology and connectivity are important factors of the resilience. They are playing vital role which enables continuity of schooling and education, business, and the provision of so many basic services to the people around the world. These positive changes triggered by this crisis could be further strengthened through closer cooperation between partner institutions. These five webinar series were able to forge meaningful partnership between Capiz State University and the University of Mercobuana Yogyakarta, formed active academic cooperation between CAPSU and UMBY, and created functional collaborations and solidarity between both universities. Before I end, in behalf of Capiz State University, and the organizers, we would like to extend our thanks, gratitude, and indebtedness to all those who, in one way or the other, have contributed in the successful conduct of these five webinar series. So the Office of the External Affairs and Linkages of Capiz State University, of course, headed by yours truly, and the English Education Study Program of the University of Mercobuana, Yogyakarta, headed by Miss Eliza Hartati, SPD, MPD, and Mr. Daniel Ariwidyatama, the Director of International Affairs of UMBY, would like to again thank the presenters of this 5-week webinar series. First presenter, Mr. Heribertus Binawan, SPD, MPD, for the University of Mercubuana, Yogyakarta. First presenter for Capital State University, Dr. Louis Placido La Chica. Second presenter for the University of Mercubuana, Yogyakarta, Miss Valentina Daya Arum Sari, SPD, M Humanities. Second presenter for Capital State University, we have Christine F. Cuenga, PhD. Third presenter for the UMBY, we have Ms. Lulu Macnoon, SPD, MPD. Third presenter for Capital State University, we have Dr. Hazel D. Joaquin. Fourth presenter for UMBY, Mr. Agostinos Hari. Fourth presenter for Capital State University, Judel B. Potasio, PhD. Fifth presenter for UMBY, Dr. Himayawati, MPD. And fifth presenter is Professor Mark Glenn Villamore. The moderators, Dr. Joey Balatayo, Mr. Daniel Ari, Vidyatama, SPD, Professor Rosando Villaruel, and Mr. Dangin, SPD, M Humanities. The technical teams of both universities, um, we would like also to say thank you to the technical terms of both universities, the very dynamic presidents of Capital State University, Dr. Efren Linan, Dr. Winnie Ligario, Dr. Susan Dangan, Mr. Agustino Sari, the Vice Dean of the Teacher Training Education Faculty of BMBY, and of course, to the ever supportive heads of both universities. Again, thank you, Dr. Edita C. Alfon and Dr. Alima Susara. And to everyone, again, in one way or another, who make this activity very successful. Thank you very much. God bless everyone, and see you in our next activities, programs, and our projects. Salamat gid nga madamo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mary Ann Martilino, the Vice President for External Affairs and Linkages of Capital State University. And of course, at this point, to speak in behalf of Universitas Marcubuana, Yogyakarta, we have the head of the English Education Study Program. Ladies and gentlemen, the very amiable Miss Eliza Hartati, MPD, SPD.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Dr. Rosandru Hirarwell. I'm on behalf of teachers and training and education faculty, represented our university. Thank you. Dear Dr. Editasi Alfon, the president of Capsu State University, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our national and international colleague and dear guests, good morning. Selamat pagi, magadang umaga. Dear Dr. Alimatu Zahra, MSc MM, that already represented by Dr. Engineer Bayu Kanetro, MP, and also, of course, dear Dr. Editasi Alfon and Dr. Marin P. Martinelli, good morning too. First of all, let us thank to God that we have already achieved till our last 5 webinar series. Once again, on behalf of the Teacher Training and Education, the Universitas Mercubuana Yogyakarta, it is my great pleasure to state this closing for our webinar series with the title Selling to the Global Teaching Approaches during COVID-19 pandemic and beyond, with many titles from the first till the 5th webinar series. Then, of course, we say thanks to especially to the speaker, today's speaker, that have been delivered by the 2 great speakers today, Mr. Mark F. Villamore, Dr. Mark F. Villamore from TAPSU, and also Dr. Hirmayat Wati, MPD, from Universitas Mercu Buana, Yogyakarta. And we also share our gratitude and big thanks to the other great speakers from the previous webinar series that we can whether we can mention one by one here. Dr. Judelfi Protasio, Dr. Christine F. Wenga, Dr. Hazels, yeah, Teacher Akin, PhD, and Dr. Luis Placido Lakisia, PhD, from CAPSU. Thank you very much. And also from Universitas Mercu Buana Yogyakarta, our colleague, Miss Valentina Diah Arum, MHUM, and Miss Lulu, El Maknun, MPD, Mr. Heribertus Binawan, MPD, yeah. And then from all the committee, thank you. And for the closing remarks, our webinar actually has provided with many platform where can they have a rapid information and interaction too for the teacher, for the educators, and almost building and developing our knowledge, I'm sure. And it has been presented so far by the 5 series, and hopefully it can be done later on by the 2 academic institution and more institutions too, in schools, for the society too, with questions of how educational department and educational field could offer a quality learning experience to learners across the globe, of course, with local culture and the universal attitude and the universal what that we can have personal value. And since it seemed to be a scenario of either swimming with other the tide of problem or racing with educational institution, have tried to stay afloat of it by our webinar. And especially for the cooperation from both university between CAPSU and UMBY. Yeah, it's always great pleasure to have the opportunity to reaffirm our country's mutual respect and share our thoughts and discuss current issues and relations between our 2 universities, of course. We will continue in the future to always look forward to further cooperation, of course, and collaboration between uh, CAPSU and MBG. Thank you for all the committee from CAPSU, Ms. Marian Laurent and the team that cannot be mentioned one by one, and Mr. Daniel and team from UMBA. Thank you to Ms. Elisa Hartati. Thank you for all the participants from series 1 till series 5. See you in another next agenda. Another occasion, of course. We are waiting for it. That's all from us on behalf of Teacher Training and Education Faculty, Universitas Mercu Buana Yogyakarta. Thank you very much. Good morning. Selamat pagi, Magadang Umaga. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sandru Hilarel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Professor Agostinos Hari, SPD, MA, the Vice Dean of the Teacher Training and Education Faculty of the Universitas Mercubuana, Yogyakarta, Indonesia, speaking in behalf of Dr. Elisa Hartati. Thank you very much, sir. And at this point, we will be flashing the exit ticket, and you can now fill up rather the exit conference evaluation and so on and so forth. Of course, it's sad to say goodbye, but I hope that this will not be the end. We cannot rewrite the chapters of history already past, but we can learn from them, evolve, and adapt. The new normal may even be a better normal, certainly a different normal. From my end, in behalf of the Capi State University, Philippines, UMBY, Universitas Mercubuana, Yogyakarta, Indonesia, and Capi State University, Philippines, mabuhay, good afternoon, and hope to see you. On my end, this is Professor Rosandro Villaruel signing off.
Thank you. God bless everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you so much.
I love you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See you all.
Keep safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ako sa company. Ako sa company. Pero